What's going on, guys? It's Michael from GPURisers.com, and today we are finally starting on our RTX 3060 Ti LHR build. So at the time of filming this, it's been about 3 or 4 days since NBMiner released their new 39.6 update. And that update increased the hash rate on these cards specifically more than others such as the 3070 Ti or the 3080 LHR that we made videos on prior. But in that most recent update with NBMiner, these 3060 Ti LHRs can now hash at around 44, maybe 45 mega hash each, while still consuming about 120 to 125 watts per card. So in order to power all of that, we will be using an EVGA 1600 watt G2 power supply. Now this power supply was pulled from another empty rig that we had because we have been transitioning over to RTX 3000 series cards. And the motherboard that we will be using will be an ASRock H110 Pro BTC. I have a lot of these boards that I use. This was pulled off of a 5700 XT rig actually, and I did swap it with a BioStar TB250 board. And the reason for that is the 5700 XTs, I have 6 of them, so that board utilizes 6 1X PCIe slots on the board. This one has 13. And since we're using 8 cards for this build, this motherboard will be perfect. Also, of course, we will be using our boot drive SSDs, our white 8-pin 18 AWG splitters, and our 8 capacitor risers. Now this frame right here actually is a sample that we got, and we do want to eventually have these for sale for you guys. Now of course we've been using these black ones, and this is the same thing, it's just powder coated with white instead of black. And there actually has been quite a delay with trying to get samples and making sure that they're good quality. So we actually did spend a lot of time with these recently. We did get a sample in that was actually just painted white over black. So if you scratched anything here, black would come out, and of course on a white frame you see black scratches right away. So we knew we didn't want to go with that. So it's been kind of jumping through hurdles trying to find the right factory and supplier that can make these. But this one actually is painted white. There is no black under it, so we do believe we are going to go with these, and we will have our logo right behind here, of course. But like I said, these will not be for sale for at least another, I want to say 45 days. I'm very optimistic about around Christmas time. However, with everything going on right now in the world, I don't know if it's possible. But enough of that. I just wanted to go over everything that I'm using for this particular build. So for the cards, we do have 4 of these Aorus Gigabyte cards. We have a Asus KO, a ROG Strix, and 2 of these MSI Gaming X cards. So there's no particular reason why I chose these models. I just got what I could get. And so that is why we are using these. So I know we do a lot of these different part videos. However, I've kind of found out with the RTX 3090 that I'm working with now, I'm gonna skip the whole 3-part thing. The second and third one can really be done in one video. So that's what I'm gonna do with this rig build. So this first part video is just going to be building the rig. It's not going to have an analysis of hash rates or anything like that, but in the second video, we will be going in depth on what the total hash rate is for the rig and each card, and also a ROI analysis on whether or not that this is a good time to buy these things and build a rig. That said, let's go ahead and move all of this out of the way. I'm going to get all of these cards out and onto the table, and then get these boxes out of here, and then I'm going to get the motherboard put onto the frame. I'm going to get the power supply put onto the frame, and then we will build it from there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I will be right back with the cards out of these boxes. All right, guys, we're back. I have all the cards out of their boxes. We have the 2 MSIs here, the Strix, the KO, and the Aorus Gigabyte. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that any plastic that's on these, here you can see on the Strix there's some plastic. Get all of these off. I will do that off camera, but real quick, I wanted to show you guys how I'm going to be powering a majority of these cards. So right here on the Gaming X, you can see that there's an 8-pin and a 6-pin. These two have it like that. The Strix is 2 8-pins. The KO is a single 8-pin. And all 4 of these Aorus Gigabytes are the same as the MSI, which is the 8-pin and the 6-pin. So real quick, how I'm going to be powering that is through a splitter cable from a single 8-pin strand from our EVGA 1600 watt power supply. So many of these strands, I'll show you one right here. It's a 8-pin that comes off, and then on the tail end we have a smaller 6-pin right here. So with that 6-pin, how I'm going to be powering the card and the riser is I have the 6-pin powering the riser on the side here, and then I have the 8-pin right here into a 18 AWG splitter cable that branches off into 2 8-pins, which you can slide out one of these pins right here, or 2 pins, and it turns this into a 6-pin, which is how we will be powering these cards. So I went ahead and did get the power supply put in. I've made the mistake with these in recent builds of putting the motherboard in first, and then I'm like trying to crunch the power supply in and not break the motherboard. So I went ahead and did that before I make the same exact mistake again. So I did get MinerStat installed on our boot drives already. That's all good to go. So now I'm going to get the motherboard put onto the rig frame, and then get everything powered onto the motherboard, and then start with, I think, probably 4. I'll start with 4 graphics cards on the bottom row, boot it like that. Make sure all 4 are just, working fine before we add in the top row. If you add in the top row beforehand, it is kind of a hassle to troubleshoot when you have cards on top of cards. That said, I will be putting the 4 Aorus on top, and I will be putting these 4 on the bottom. That said, I will go ahead and be getting the rest of this plastic off of all the cards, and I will be getting the motherboard put on, and we'll be right back. All right, so we're back here, guys. I have 4 of them onto the rig. All of them are powered correctly. We have all of them except for this Asus TUF is powered via a 8-pin splitter. All the risers are powered via 6-pin. So each card is running off one single 8-strand from the power supply. But like I said before, we have these 8-pin right here to 6-pin right here that come directly off this 1600 watt power supply. So now that all of this is connected, we are going to go ahead and flick the power supply on. So it looks like the Strix is good, KO is good, and the 2 MSIs. All the lights are on the cards and the risers, so that's a good thing. All of our 1X chips right here are powered. So let me go ahead and check MinerStat's dashboard. I'll make sure all these cards are showing up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to apply the overclocks while we have 4 of these on here. And that's because we really only want these cards pulling about 120 to 130 watts. If we didn't apply overclocks and we put all 8 of them, onto the rig right now, and just say they, don't have a underclock or a watt limit on them, they might each be pulling 200 watts, which, 8 times 200 would be 1600 watts, which would be definitely overloading this power supply. So we want to make sure that we apply the overclocks while there are a fewer amount of cards on here. Looks like this splitter is actually bugging that fan out a little bit. Push that there. What is nice about these 18 gauge splitter cables that we do sell is that they're pretty thick. They're not as malleable as some of the others, but that's because it is true 18 gauge wire. So when you kind of move them around, and push them together, they kind of stay pretty well where they are. They don't, move around, and they're not flimsy and everything like that. So that said, let me go ahead and check the program and make sure all of these are good, and then we'll be right back. All right, guys, we are back here. I just went and checked the MinerStat program. All of them are running fine. I did have to update the overclocks again. I don't know why I've been having that issue, but it's been a recurring issue on all these new LHR builds for whatever reason. That said, another issue is if you look right here on the motherboard, I don't have a 1X PCI chip on the 16X slot. Now, usually it won't boot or it won't be mining correctly if you don't have that, but for whatever reason, and this is the second one that I've done that's having this issue, maybe it's a MinerStat issue, maybe it's something with these LHR cards, I'm really not sure what it is, but if one is in that 16X slot, it won't read. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Again, I'm not sure why it's doing that, but I'll do a little bit of research and try to figure that out. But regardless, all 4 of these are working just fine. The overclocks are on, so the wattage is limited right now to 130 per card. So what I'm going to do is I will now be putting on the Gigabyte cards over there and get this whole thing up and running. So that said, let me go ahead and jump to the other side of this and get the other 4 up here. All right, guys, welcome back. We have all 8 going, and they are all on MinerStat showing up now, and we are officially mining on our 8-card 3060 Ti LHR rig. That said, I am going to conclude the video here. I'll do a follow-up video and an analysis on what these are mining, what the hash rate that they're mining at, and also I will be doing an updated profitability on which coin is the most profitable to mine. For now, we will be mining Ethereum using NB Miner, but once we do an analysis on these cards and seeing what's most profitable, that's what we're going to switch this one to. But now that we have all of these running, I am going to go ahead and put the rig away. This will actually be going on 240 volt electricity, and I'll do a video on using 240 rather than 120 here in the US, so that you guys can have a better understanding of what 240 volt entails. But until then, if you guys like this video, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see some more content. And as always, I hope everyone that's watching this has a great rest of their day, and we'll see you guys next time.